Let's start with the initial perception of Hans in Frozen. When he first appears, he seems like the perfect charming prince, polite, attentive, and full of charisma. Many viewers were led to believe he would be the romantic hero of the story, alongside Anna. This initial portrayal was intentional, illustrating Anna's naivety and her quick trust in Hans, which is common in early interactions of princesses in fairy tales. However, Hans is different from other Disney villains. He doesn't have a threatening aura from the start, and his approach is calculated and subtle. Unlike classic villains like Scar from The Lion King, who are clearly presented as malicious figures, Hans is a character whose true nature is gradually revealed. This ambiguity serves as a direct reflection of the protagonist's deepest insecurities and fears. What makes Hans stand out is precisely this manipulation strategy that allows him to infiltrate the hearts of the characters and the viewers. But as the film progresses, it becomes clear that he is merely a piece in the larger picture, a symbol of the sisters' own weaknesses, Anna with her neediness and Elsa with her fear. Hans appears in Frozen as the perfect prince, polite, attentive, and full of charisma. From the first encounter with Anna, he is charming, making the audience believe he would be the ideal romantic partner for the princess. His apparent kindness and willingness to help make him an ideal candidate to gain everyone's trust, including the audience's. Unlike classic Disney villains like Scar or Maleficent, Hans doesn't seem to possess evident malice or a desire for revenge from the outset. His approach is sneaky and planned. He takes advantage of Anna's loneliness and neediness, understanding that by showing superficial affection, he can achieve his goals. What makes Hans a distinct figure is his calculated manipulation, which contrasts with more intensely malicious villains. However, even though he is an opportunistic and cruel figure, he is not the main cause of the central conflict in Frozen. In fact, Hans reflects the sisters' insecurities and the decisions their parents made during their childhood, shaping Elsa's fear and Anna's naivety. This presentation makes it clear that Hans plays more of a catalyst role than a true villain, highlighting the fears Elsa needs to overcome and the consequences of a repressive upbringing. Fear is the true antagonist that drives Frozen's story. Since childhood, Elsa was taught to suppress her abilities, something her parents believed was necessary to protect both their daughter and the kingdom. The phrase repeated by her parents, "Conceal, don't feel, don't let it show," represents this attempt at absolute control over her powers. Over time, this teaching becomes an emotional prison for Elsa, causing her fear to grow uncontrollably. This internalized fear is what causes chaos in Arendelle when Elsa accidentally reveals her powers to the public during her coronation. Insecurity and panic cause her to flee to the distant ice castle, isolating herself further from Anna and the world. Elsa's flight symbolizes her attempt to protect herself and others from her powers, only increasing fear's devastating effect on her. Elsa doesn't fight a physical villain, but rather the fear of hurting the people she loves, especially Anna. Instead of dealing with her condition openly, she chooses isolation, reinforcing the idea that fear is the real source of the suffering she and her sister face. Elsa's journey is, therefore, a battle to accept who she truly is and learn to control her powers without fear. Fear ultimately drives every tragic event in the film, creating obstacles that go far beyond the intentions of any conventional villain. Elsa's parents play a crucial role in shaping the fear that dominates her. After the childhood accident in which Elsa accidentally hurts Anna with her powers, the parents make a drastic decision: isolate her from the world. This isolation is not just physical but also emotional, as they force her to suppress her emotions as a form of control. They believe they are protecting both their daughter and the kingdom, but their actions end up creating an emotional barrier that deeply affects Elsa's development. Without a safe environment to explore her powers, Elsa grows up in a constant state of anxiety and repression. The parents' approach reinforced fear, rather than encouraging learning and acceptance. This makes Elsa a tragic figure who, instead of feeling comfortable with her magic, views her abilities as a curse. The message of conceal and don't feel becomes the main element that fuels Elsa's fear and indirectly contributes to the events of Frozen. The parents' behavior creates a cycle of insecurity. The more Elsa tries to hide her powers, the stronger and more uncontrollable they become. Their choices not only shape Elsa's fear but also influence the dynamics between her and Anna, creating an emotional chasm between the two sisters. Anna, unlike Elsa, grows up without understanding why her sister is distant, but she remains optimistic and dreamy. However, her emotional neediness, worsened by Elsa's parents' imposed isolation, makes her idealize the concept of true true love. This makes her extremely vulnerable to Hans, who quickly perceives this naivety and uses it as part of his plan to seize the throne. Anna's desire for connection and affection is so great that she confuses Hans's immediate attention with genuine love, leading her to accept his marriage proposal just hours after their first meeting. This impulsive behavior highlights a central point of Frozen's narrative, breaking the classic trope of princesses who instantly fall in love with princes. Anna's journey then is marked by the painful lesson that true love is not based solely on sweet words or superficial gestures, but on bonds built with trust and time. Hans's manipulation not only exposes this vulnerability, but also forces Anna to mature and understand what love and trust truly mean, especially in the context of her relationship with Elsa. Anna needs to overcome not only romantic disappointment, but also the emotional chasm with her sister, caused by their repressive upbringing. This reinforces the idea that the true conflict in Frozen is more internal than external, involving the protagonist's emotional growth and learning. Hans is a villain, but his evil is purely opportunistic. Unlike traditional Disney villains, he has no personal connection or deep-seated desire for revenge against Elsa or Anna. Instead, he takes advantage of a politically and emotionally unstable situation to achieve his goals. Coming from a family with 12 siblings and no prospects of inheriting the throne in his homeland, Hans sees in Arendelle a unique opportunity. With the king and queen dead and 2 young princesses in command, the scenario is ideal for Hans's ambition: to marry one of them, eliminate the other, and take the throne for himself. His plan is coldly calculated and therefore more strategic than personal. Hans is calculating and manipulates circumstances precisely, always presenting himself as the ideal savior for the kingdom. He acts as Anna and Elsa's weaknesses are revealed, one's neediness and the other's fear. This reinforces the idea that he is more of a catalyst for the protagonist's personal journeys than the true focus of villainy. Although his actions are clearly cruel and he is responsible for assassination attempts, it's clear that his motivation is not pure hatred, but rather a desire for power. I'm not excusing Hans's actions. He is undoubtedly an evil character. However, he does not carry the same moral weight as root villains like Scar or Maleficent. Hans serves as a mirror to the protagonist's weaknesses. For Anna, he reflects her naivety and desperate desire to be loved, showing how she is easily swayed by the first sign of affection. He is the harsh reminder that true love is not built overnight, but through trust and mutual understanding. The interaction between the two highlights Anna's maturation throughout the narrative, as it is the disappointment with Hans that makes her realize the true value of her connections, especially with Elsa. In Elsa's case, Hans symbolizes the worst outcome of her fear, the destruction of everything she tried to protect. He exploits Elsa's uncertainty about her powers and her role as Arendelle's leader. The insecurity that drives her to flee also creates space for Hans to manipulate the situation in his favor, presenting himself as a hero capable of saving the kingdom from the supposed threat that is Elsa. By revealing his true nature, Hans forces the sisters to confront their flaws directly. For Anna, it's a test of resilience and understanding of what true love is. For Elsa, it is the moment she needs to overcome fear and accept who she really is, reconnecting with her sister and using her powers positively. Hans, in this way, not only serves as an antagonist, but also as an element that catalyzes the growth and transformation of the protagonists. Fear is the true driving force behind the events in Frozen, directly influencing the protagonist's choices and actions. Since the childhood accident, Elsa learns that her powers are dangerous, and this lesson is reinforced by her parents' insistence on keeping her isolated. Thus, the fear of hurting others and losing control defines her journey, causing a domino effect that impacts the entire kingdom of Arendelle. When Elsa finally releases her powers during her coronation, fear completely overwhelms her, causing her to flee and create an eternal winter. Here, fear is not just an internal element of Elsa, but also a physical obstacle for everyone in Arendelle. This abstract antagonism manifests tangibly, symbolizing how repressed emotions can turn into real crises if not confronted. The overcoming of fear is, therefore, the emotional climax of the film. Elsa does not defeat an external villain, but rather her own insecurity. It is only when she understands that love is the key to controlling her powers that the winter dissipates, restoring peace and harmony in Arendelle. Fear, therefore, is not only the most powerful villain, but also the one that challenges Elsa in the most personal and transformative way. While Hans is a treacherous character and attempts to kill the protagonists, he is not the main villain of Frozen. His actions, as cruel as they are motivated by ambition and opportunity, not by a desire for revenge or pure malice. He is undoubtedly manipulative and willing to sacrifice lives to gain power, making him one of the most unscrupulous villains in animation. However, his villainy serves more as a catalyst for Elsa's and Anna's evolution than as the central conflict of the narrative. The true antagonist of Frozen is Elsa's fear, amplified by her parents' actions and her own insecurities. The plot unfolds as a journey of overcoming this fear, leading Elsa to accept who she is and Anna to understand the true meaning of love. Hans is an essential component for this evolution to occur, but he is not the root villain of the story. That said, it's important to emphasize once again that I am not excusing Hans's actions. He is cruel and unscrupulous, and his attempts to assassinate Elsa and Anna are unforgivable. However, the film's focus is more on the internal growth of the protagonists and overcoming their own conflicts, making Elsa's fear the true villain of Frozen. So, did you enjoy this analysis and believe that Elsa's fear is the real villain of Frozen, or do you disagree and think it's Hans after all? Leave a like. This helps a lot to bring more content like this for you. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future theories and analyses, and comment below what you think. Is fear the true villain, or does Hans deserve the title? Let's debate in the comments.